Now, is it better to have a new construction home or have a resale home or an existing home? Now, with that, we will be diving into the pros and cons of each and whether or not you want to go the new construction route or the resale route. Before we dive too much further into this, I do want to explain the difference between new construction homes versus resale homes. New construction homes are defined by buying a home from the builder, and you're basically the first person who is owning that home. Now, with that, the resale is basically anything else that you're buying from the seller and not a builder. And with that, we'll be diving into the pros and cons of new construction. Now, there are definitely some pros when it comes to new construction, and the first one is going to be customization. And this is really when you're able to get into the building or planning phase about 6 months before the actual completion of the construction. Now, this is going to allow you to customize the countertops, the cabinets, and a bunch of little accessories in that sense. You may be able to alter the structure slightly, but for the most part, that will stay the same. And another pro of this is going to be low maintenance. You are buying a brand new home, which means that you're going to have a brand new roof, a brand new HVAC system, and a brand new water heater, along with a bunch of new stuff, which means that you won't have to account for the capital expenditures anytime soon or have to pay for a brand new roof. Now, the third pro to this is also going to be the warranties. Typically, a builder will have a 1 to 10 warranty. And what that means is that for the first year, you're going to have a warranty that will cover some of the craftsmanship in terms of if there's any appliances that are broken or if there's windows that have issues. And then the second year is going to cover more warranties in terms of electrical, plumbing, and if there's any issues with that. And then you have a 10-year warranty, which is a structural warranty, where if there's any structural problems within those first 10 years, the builder will need to address them. Now, the cons of new construction are going to be having an HOA or a homeowners association. This is something that is usually required when new communities are built and something to keep in mind when it comes to the rules and regulations. Just know moving down the line, those rules and regulations may change, and it can sometimes be a pro, but can also be a con depending on the individual you are and how restrictive those rules and regulations are. Now, the second thing to note is that you are going to be paying a premium when it comes to buying a new construction home. You are buying this home and you're going to be the first one in it. So just keep that in mind in terms of appreciation. Typically, when you buy new construction, you will have either a flat appreciation rate or a slightly negative appreciation rate for the first 5-ish years. Now, depending on the market and the inventory, that may change, but typically something to keep in mind that it doesn't appreciate quite as fast as a resale home or a less new home. Now, the third thing to note is going to be the builder contract. This is a huge con in the sense that typically when you are going under contract with a builder, you are going to lose a lot of the buyer contingencies. That means that your deposit or your earnest money is going to most likely stay with them if you decide to back out. Now, there are some exceptions, and each builder has different forms and whatnot, and they are not the standard form that are usually used that have a lot of those buyer contingencies. One being, for example, the inspection period. This is a huge thing that will have the ability for a buyer in a normal transaction or a resale transaction to pull out if they find anything that they don't like. Now, with that, you also potentially might have some issues in terms of a financing contingency, but it's always good to make sure to take a look at that form and go through it thoroughly. Now, if I missed any pros or cons, feel free to leave a comment down below when it comes to new construction, and I would love to hear your thoughts. Now, switching to the resale side of this equation is when it comes to the pros of the resale, it's typically going to be the location options. When it comes to new construction, especially here in the Portland, Oregon area, it is a little bit harder to build in a area that's more established or closer to the inner city. We have an urban growth boundary that extends out, and that's why you start seeing new builds in the outskirts of town and not typically in the interior of the Portland metro area. Now, with this, you usually have a little bit more options to choose which homes you want to go for and then which areas. And on top of that, another pro to this is you're usually able to understand the neighborhood a little bit more, or when it comes to resale homes, they are a little bit more established neighborhoods. Now, this way you can kind of understand a little bit more about what that feel is for that neighborhood. And the difference between new construction and resale is that usually new construction is a little bit harder to kind of feel out what that neighborhood might feel like in the next 5 or 10 years. The third pro to this is going to be the appreciation. Typically, resale homes are going to have a little bit more steady appreciation initially, and this will allow you to build more equity faster. Now, there are different cons when it comes to the resale market as well. And one of these cons is going to be the fact that you are most likely going to have to pay for renovations, and that costs money, and it's usually not cheap, especially if you're looking at bathroom or kitchen remodels. However, this gives you an opportunity to force appreciation as well. So it's somewhat up to you and how much you want to do in terms of hiring out work or doing work yourself. Another con to note is that usually there's going to be less warranties. And something to note with the home builder warranties or the new construction warranties, they just stretch out a little bit longer. Whereas with a resale home, you can still get warranties, but it's usually a home warranty that's for about a year, but you can keep extending that if you feel like it's needed. So, on top of the two cons I just mentioned, the one other factor to note is the limited efficiency or limited energy efficiency. This is typically just because older homes don't have the higher building codes that we now have today, which means that you're most likely going to be having a higher heating or cooling bill depending on where or what time of the year we're at. Now, you're probably wondering which one's the right one for me. And my goal is to help educate you, to empower you to make the decisions. However, it's something good to know that if you are looking at new construction, this is typically for a lot of buyers who do not want to deal with a lot of maintenance and they want everything brand new or somewhat customized to what they are looking for. A word of warning for that: make sure that you are staying a little bit more neutral when it comes to the colors and types of finishes you use, so that way if you do need to resell it at another time, that it will have a little bit more maintained value. And on top of that, if you are open to being a little bit more handy, maybe the resale option might be a good fit for you as well. However, there's also opportunities to buy homes that have been upgraded and have the nicer finishes that you're wanting. Just note that you're probably going to have to pay a premium for that, though, if you are looking in a more hot market. All of this to say is that every decision is going to be a little bit more personalized. And if you're ever curious about running some thoughts or things of that nature, feel free to DM me. All my contact information is down below. And if you want to comment down below, that would be fantastic. If you found any of this content helpful or valuable, it would be wonderful if you could hit that like and subscribe button. And thank you so much for watching.